My name is Orievan, um, the research specialist and COO for Nataf & David Consulting, Nigeria Limited. A little introduction for Nataf & David Nigeria Limited. Nataf & David Consulting Nigeria Limited is a business growth consultancy company offering tailor-made services targeted at building profitable and productive companies. We provide comprehensive HR advisory services at different sections of the value chain, from recruitment to manpower development. We also offer customer and market insight assessment, assessing opportunities for brands through market research and trend mapping, amongst others. Today, I'm glad to say that we are celebrating the logistics sector globally. Even though the National Day for Logistics was on the 28th of June, but for us here in Nataf & David, we are celebrating it today. So once again, I want to say thank you for coming, and I welcome you this morning. And today we are looking at recognizing and appreciating the importance of logistics industry, both within Nigeria, nationally, and globally. We have different days recognizing different sectors, but we never had one for logistics. But 3 years ago, a group of people, particularly the company called Logistics Plus Incorporation, decided to create one day or decide one day or provide one day to celebrate logistics. And all that Logistics Plus incorporated this, the importance of logistics in the nation, in different nations. I just want to read out what Scott Frederick, the Vice President of Marketing and LTL Career Relationship, Logistics Plus Incorporated, said while they were celebrating the Logistics National Day on the 28th of June, just this about 2 days ago. He says, and I quote, "The logistics industry is pretty amazing. It's hard to believe that 3 years ago there was no specific date to recognize or celebrate what they play in the domestic and global economies. Well, unbelievable. The logistics and supply chain sector, for me, is one of the fastest growing industries in Nigeria, though still in its budding phase. According to the 2018 report on logistics and supply chain industry by Vanguard newspaper, the value of Nigeria's logistics sector was estimated to be about 250 billion naira, which is about 696 million US dollars, a rise of 50 million naira from 2017 figures. Huge infrastructure defeats, though, and anti-business government policies, poor road networks, unstable electricity, multiple taxation, etc., have led to the sector not being able to achieve its full potential. Thus, local stakeholders are unable to meet financial obligations, so costs and charges are transferred to end users, making them uncompetitive and making room for foreign-owned operators with the financial capacities to absorb higher levels of business risk to enter into the market. For us here, it's time the Nigerian government focuses on transportation and distribution industry, transport and distribution workforce, road infrastructure, road congestion, road conditions, interstate highways, vehicle taxes and fees, railroad access, water port access, air cargo access, etc., to ensure innovation within the infrastructure development cycle of logistics and supply chains. Needless to say that Nigerian government is losing so much due to poor infrastructure. Logistics can therefore be attributed to the main indicator of economy and advancement expressed boldly in trade facilitation and business competitiveness. Having said this, as just a little introduction of logistics and what they do in different countries all over the world, I want to say that today we have men and a woman of repute to lead us in this conversation. Like I said earlier on, They will be looking at different topics, but our theme is recognizing and appreciating the importance of logistics industry in both our national and global economy. Without taking much time now, I want to just call speakers. Our speakers, I will mention their names. One of our speakers is Oluchi Okafor. Another speaker, Mr. Demola Ogundare, and my CEO, Mr. Kenneth Odushola Stevenson. Before we continue, I want to also, our sponsor is Zenith Cares. Zenith Cares sponsored this program we are holding now. And I want to say a big thank you to them. I want to say a big thank you to Zenith Cares. I recognize Zenith Cares today because it's an indigenous one-stop shop logistics service provider with international applications. Zenith Cares International Limited is a logistics and clearing company with many years of cognate experience in freight forwarding, customs clearance, haulage, and related logistics services. Zenith Cares International offers customs clearance services in both sea and air. You know, all the seaports and airports in Nigeria. Its well-designed custom clearance program reduces cycle time, improves shipment visibility, and lowers costs. The knowledgeable professionals of Zenith Cares provide timely and reliable management of their shipment from arrival, return of empty containers, and to final destination. Zenith Cares was incorporated on the 1st of November 2002. In line with their vision, they have already taken a frontline position in the logistics and freight industry in less than a decade since commencement of operations. Zenith Cares has again say a big thank you to Zenith Cares. 1 minute, we are going to look at a clip of their advert to see what they are doing and to see what they have been doing and what they are. And I want to also say that Zenith Cares has its offices almost in every state in this country. We say a big thank you to you, Zenith Cares. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that advert. So I will just take Mr. Ogundare's profile. Mr. Ogundare graduated with a BSc and MSc degree in economics. He's a fellow of the Institute of Nigeria, member of Council for Regulations of Freight Forwarders in Nigeria, member of Association of Nigerian Licensed Customs Agents, member of various international and local freight forwarding and logistics networks. He's a board of trustee member and the national secretary of Association of Chandlers and Ship Suppliers of Nigeria. Mr. Demola started his career in maritime in 1981 and worked in Skyland shipping agencies, Olakbenwork clearing and forwarding agencies. He also acquired diverse experience in accounting firm and banking institutions, and now an entrepreneur and abroad and well-traveled. He's the creative force behind Nest Shipping Limited, a registered shipping and freight forwarding company licensed by Nigeria Customs Services. Mr. Demola, you are welcome to this webinar, and I just want to thank you because in all our webinars, even the physical engagements previous years, he has always been available. Thank you so much and welcome. A brief profile of Oluchi Okafor. Oluchi Okafor is the MD Multi-Mix Academy. Is also one of our speakers. She is a speaker. She's a trainer and consultant with over 10 years of experience, spanning across the FMCG, telecommunications, and capacity building sectors. She has a BSc Mass Communication from Covenant University and an MBA in Supply Chain Management from the Malaysian University of Science and Technology. Her core competencies across the sectors include sales, branding and customer services, At one time handling high-end sales of telecom lines, she's the managing director of Multi-Mix Academy, the premier supply chain and logistics training institute in Nigeria. She's extremely passionate about customer service and supply chain management and seeks to show businesses how these fields affect their bottom line directly and positively as a competitive edge in today's world. She has trained hundreds of Nigerian business owners and employees and has set up Nigeria's first EdTech platform for supply chain management courses. Oluchi is a Sherry Blair Foundation mentee and is currently the only female executive council member of the Oil and Gas Trainers Association of Nigeria. Welcome, Oluchi Okafor. Glad to have you here. Without taking much of our time, we are going to start off this conversation with Oluchi Okafor. Oluchi Okafor is going to take us on supply chain management, then, now, and the future.
Thank you very much, madam, for that rousing welcome. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here. My profile has been read already, so I'm not going to dwell too much on that. My name is Oluchi Okafor. I manage Multi-Mix Academy, and we're privileged to be a part of this celebration of Logistics Day. Just a bit of a background about who we are at Multi-Mix Academy. We're Nigeria's premier and foremost supply chain management educational body. We are affiliated with several supply chain organizations who have the greatest certifications in the world currently on the subject matter. We have certifications for new entrants, we have certifications for people who are already in the industry that are looking to grow and expand. We are very passionate about the newer people who are trying to come into the business of supply chain and logistics. And that's why we have a lot of courses that are catered to people who do not have much of an understanding of what the industry is about. And we're very privileged to be here again. And I'm going to be talking from an education point of view because that is my field. Logistics is becoming more and more mainstream. These days, people are starting to know what it is, what it's about. The COVID pandemic, which we're all just trying to come out from, was a huge indicator of the importance of supply chain and logistics. And we've been very fortunate to be, at the forefront of leading that charge and ensuring that we do not continue to have the current shortage in talents that we're having when it comes to supply chain management and logistics in Nigeria. I have a time slot for about 20-25 minutes, so I will try to capture the topic of today in that time. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about for the logistics professionals, you already know what I want to say. For those of you who are not in logistics, this will be a great introductory crash course into what logistics and supply chain is about. Sorry about that. So it's like a very fantastic free introductory course into supply chain, which I would encourage you to study further. And if not, give us a call and then probably take one of our certifications. So I'm going to go right into it. The title of my presentation today is Supply Chain Management, Then, Now, and the Future. Just looking at where we're coming from in terms of the industry, where we are and where we're going. And this is not specific to Nigeria because we are, as a company, a believer in teaching best practices globally. So I'm going to go right into the presentation now. Again, thank you to NatFam David Consulting for this event and for having me. So basically, let's start with the before. What was logistics before now? How did it come about? What is the meaning? What does it mean? What is it about? What's the history behind it? Now, the original term dates back more than 2 centuries. It originated from the military and it meant the supply of fighting troops with all the necessary information. So let's say a troop is in some forest somewhere and then we need to send them their fuel, their ammunition, their foodstuff, their temporary lodging materials. The term was called logistics. To this day, most military bases have almost like a university of logistics, same with Nigeria as well, because of how important it is to them. So you can think of logistics as a gift to the corporate world from the military, because if you're thinking military or sending anything to the military, you can think about all the hassles that will be on the way to get into them. And then the fact that the military was able to do the corporate world started to think, okay, can we do the same thing, this type of agility, and make sure that our customers are satisfied? From the perspective of the military, the customer in this case would be the soldiers or people who need these resources. But from the perspective of the corporate people who have now taken on this term and now probably use it even more, it's about customer satisfaction. Customer wants something at a certain time, in a certain condition, at a certain place. How are we able to ensure that they get what they need as at when due? And that's just the general background of how logistics began and what the origin of the term is. Now, the evolution has been very clear. It's gone from just local, from farm to table, like some people would refer to it, from the farm to the market. You've gone from that to regional, okay, from the market in that village to another village or to another state. Then we start to another village or another community. Then we now started talking about national, moving things interstate via all the means of transportation, and then obviously globally. Now, I'm not a fan of definitions, but let's just go through one and just be able to determine what logistics is. It's the process of planning, implementing, and controlling the efficient, cost-effective forward and reverse flow and storage of goods, services, and related information from the point of origin to the point of consumption for the purpose of conforming to customer requirements. Let's break that definition down a little bit. I think it will do us a lot of good. I will also make sure that this presentation is sent to our host company, and if they are inclined to share with you, please, so that if there are things that I do not touch on due to time constraints, because it's an online event, I know that you would like to make sure that we finish as soon as possible, because the attention span of human beings online is usually quite short, so I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. Now, so of planning, implementing, controlling efficient and cost-effective. Let's start from that. Logistics needs to be efficient. It also needs to be cost-effective. However, you do not slaughter quality on the altar of costs. So it's very important to find that fantastic balance in which you're starting to say, okay, I need to get this thing here by tomorrow. Is it more efficient for me to send it by air or send it by road? You now have to think about the opportunity cost of sending it by road and having a challenge and then not having it there at the time being. So efficient and cost effective, very important. Then another thing that I want to point out in the definition is forward and reverse flow and storage. When you think logistics, think movement, think flow. Those are the two words that should come to mind. Forward and reverse. Forward is to the customer. Reverse is, if anything, there's a return. The returns are a huge part of logistics. But people don't, we don't like returns as business people. Once the money has entered, we're not willing to return or make any kind of refunds. But the forward and reverse flow, so that back and forth is very important in the logistics process. And obviously the storage. So that's why you start thinking about the warehousing component of logistics and supply chain. Now, of goods, services, and related information. I like to tell the businesses that I train for, big or small, every company has a supply chain. You just probably haven't identified it yet. You probably haven't drawn the map yet, but every single company has a supply chain. Even the woman who sells something on the street has a supply chain. The malam on your street has a supply chain. You just probably do not refer to it as a supply chain. So, goods, services, and related information, meaning that yes, the supply chain actually also works in the services industry, in the intangible product industry, from point of origin to point of consumption, for the purpose of conforming to customer requirements. And I think that last part is very important. And it's probably one of the most important parts of the logistics and supply chain process, the customer requirements. We're going to talk about something called the seven bill of rights that we talk about in logistics. And you just show that the customer basically determines what they want and you have to meet up to it. So your supply chain is not successful if you have not met up to the requirements or the requests of the customer. That for me is if you take nothing else away from this definition, customer requirements, and then the customer requirements is clear, then the efficient flow to ensure that those requirements are met, that's essentially what logistics is. Now, so what are some of the components of an integrated logistics system? I'll just go through this quickly. External supply, which links the suppliers to the operations flow. So that's from the point where I am a business, I need certain raw materials to come to me for me to supply my customers. So that external supply is what links my supplier to my operations, meaning that if I'm packaging biscuits, if I don't get the nylons on time, my product is not ready. If I'm packaging biscuits, if I don't get the flour on time, my product is not ready. So that's the link between the supplier and the operations team. Then there's internal operations of logistics, which is the managing of the in-process material. So I've gotten the nylon, I've gotten the flour. And that process of production, making sure that, okay, if I'm supposed to store the flour or the dough at some particular temperature, I'm able to store it at that point before moving on to the next stage. So that entire process is internal operations. Then you have the physical distribution. Now this is the point where the biscuits are ready, they're in cartons, to be packaged nicely, and then we have orders to deliver. So that linking the operations process to the customer. So I'm going to explain these three things in a better way now through this slide that we're talking about the logistics and supply chain management, upstream and downstream management. So you have the upstream, which again is just like what I just explained. You have the raw materials which you order. There's the inbound logistics. Yes, that's another term for it. Upstream, downstream, inbound, outbound. So coming to you as in form of raw material is inbound logistics. The storage and warehousing that you do before production is part of that upstream. Then you now start to do production. Immediately after production, you're getting into the downstream side of it, which is the finished product storage, meaning, like I mentioned, I'm using my biscuit example now, the biscuit cartons, the storage of it, the outbound logistics is the taking it out, marketing and sales is the people who are actually going to go out and get the companies who want to order this item, and then obviously customer service, which is the actual provision of the goods ordered to the customers who have ordered. So that is essentially the general idea. I'm trying to use relatable examples for people who are not too familiar with logistics and supply chain as an industry. And again, like I said before, even if you are, sometimes I feel like we get caught up in all the big words and the massive things, and we don't actually just look at it as simply as it can be. And that is honestly what I am hoping to achieve today. So this is pretty much the same as what I just explained, the process that goes through the procurement, manufacturing, and sales. Now, I mentioned something about a bill of rights. We are now in the process of talking about supply chain. We've talked about then, meaning the origin. We are now talking about what obtains now, what is the global best practice in terms of as the minimal base of what is expected within the process of logistics. Now, in the present, getting the right goods or services to the right place at the right time in the desired condition at the lowest cost and highest return on investment. That's the logistics and supply chain mission. Now, these are the 7 R's of the Bill of Rights, like I mentioned. And you can see you have right product, right quantity, right condition, right place, right time, right customer, and right cost. These things are essentially what we hope and aim to achieve when you're carrying out any kind of logistics and supply chain process. Right product, right quantity, right condition, right place, right time, right customer, and right cost. If any of these goes wrong, the entire process is going to crash. So if I have the right product, but I don't have enough of it, then I don't have the right quantity, and then that does not stipulate to customer requirements. Please, customer service, customer relationship, customer generally is such a massive part of the supply chain process. Unfortunately, because supply chain is also very, very interested in cost cutting, people start to prioritize that part of it over quality, and that's always the first mistake. There's a definition of supply chain that I really like, which is that supply chain management is getting to do everything with little. No, doing so much with little, or you can do everything with nothing. I'll take that again. Supply chain management is doing so much with little until you can do everything with nothing. Yes, but you cannot have with everything with nothing. That everything needs to still be a customer stipulation. So if customer is not happy, then the supply chain process has failed. So these are the 7 R's and Bill of Rights that you need to bear in mind before you even start the entire process. This is a bit of a very extended version, but I think the guys who are in the industry will appreciate this slide a lot. So it's a toned down version of the SCORE model. Those of us who know the SCORE model know that it's a lot more, complicated than this. But like I said, this is just like an introductory re-education for everyone who is here. So the SCORE model is like the supply chain operations reference model. Now it's everything that has to do with the supply chain process in one quick, easy glance. So you have 5 elements to it. We have the planning, the sourcing, the making, the delivering, and the return. Plan, source, make, deliver, return. That is all the components of supply chain, be it procurement, warehousing, freight forwarding, import, export, whatever it is that you're thinking about, storage, the movement itself, transportation, distribution, the logistics of it. It all kind of falls into these 5 things. One of them will always fall into one. So the first stage is the planning stage. You have to plan your demand, you have to plan your source, plan what you're making, plan how you want to deliver, plan your return. So that part is like, think of it like the strategy side. Putting your thought process together and making it actually start to turn into something that is alive and well. Then you now go to sourcing, which focuses on the suppliers. Again, you notice I'm kind of repeating myself, but I'm just repeating myself in different ways so that it sticks. Then you have to develop your sourcing strategies. Do you want to source in-house, or do you want to go to a different location or a different country to source from? How do you select and manage your suppliers? How do you manage materials, deliveries, inventories, etc.? That's the source part of it. Then the make is pretty much under the factory and plant. So that's production. Schedule it, manage equipment, manage work in progress inventories. Work in progress inventories are basically like you have made the biscuit, you have not put it in the nylon, so it's still work in progress, that kind of thing. And then obviously the customers who are the reason that we're here. No, sorry. You have the labor first of all, which is to process customer orders, manage warehouses, manage transportation, manage inventories, and all that. Then you have the customers, meaning you have to manage returnable packaging material. So, for instance, if you're dealing with anything that has to do with the glass bottle, like a soft drink or beer, the bottles would usually need to, there's a return process with the bottle. That's a classic example of returns. There's also returns of excess or defective products or excess or defective materials. So returnable packaging materials like the bottles that I mentioned, and then all those other things. So this is just again a quick glance at all the components that come together to create a working and sustainable supply chain management system. I like this photo a lot because it says a lot about our current situation in a lot of companies that we work, not even in just supply chain. There's a pass the buck mentality. Pass the buck meaning, I'm not the one that did it to, it's not me. Especially when, stuff hits the fan and everybody's stained. Everybody's kind of like trying to preserve their white from getting stained because like, I'm not there, I was not there, I didn't do it. No. And this is the classic example of how it's very interesting to stay on the other side of the boat and say, I'm glad that the goal is not on our side. And the people that the goal is on their side, they are busy scooping out the water. Those two people are not machines. They can only scoop out so much. Very soon, the entire boat is going to go down, inclusive of the people who say that the goal is not on their side. Now, this is a more aligned group of people on a body of water as well. Business is sink or swim essentially, so that's why we're using a lot of water. So this is a more aligned set of people, a more aligned team. We're rowing the same way, we're going the same direction. There's no hole in the boat. There's synergy essentially, and I think the lack of synergy is a major reason why a lot of supply chain teams or processes fail, because the procurement people have one goal. They're called silos. Silos are like these individual things that you have a full warehouse or a full space, and then you have individual silos, meaning that those silos cannot work together because there are clear barriers, because everybody has a different aim or hope that they have in terms of how the business is run. The salespeople would want people who are selling marketing and sales, they want a full warehouse so they can have something to sell. The warehousing guys don't want a full warehouse, but they don't want things to spoil. So you have two different people in the same business having different ideologies or different hopes and dreams. Then at that point in time, it's like, okay, how are we going to work together? So silos are a major difficulty in supply chain management. This is people doing the exact opposite of what I had just shown. Everybody's kind of rowing in a different direction. And at that point in time, I'm pretty sure we all know that boat is not going to move. So why should you choose a career in logistics and supply chain management if you are not already in? The opportunities are incredibly available. Dr. Miss mentioned in her intro about how supply chain is the fastest growing career in the world. I'm here to tell you that it definitely is. That was not a fancy thing that she felt was going to be nice to say. She's saying the absolute truth. Because even in Nigeria, just from my experience of managing a company that trains on this, and safe to say the only company that has this as a focus. We're really the only ones. Most people train on this, but train on other things as well. But we decided to kind of build our niche because we believe so much in this industry. The opportunities are readily available. I think every Thursday, because we have an alumni group of everybody who has taken our courses at one time or the other, and they span into their thousands. And we're very fortunate to have had interactions with major supply chain movers in the industry. There's always a job, but there's no job, there's always opportunities. Every Thursday, we post at least 6 to 7 jobs just from our personal contacts and also off of the internet. And that just goes to show you that some of these jobs go unfilled, some of them they just transfer somebody else because there's a genuine lack of talent in the supply chain industry for Nigeria. Even during downtime. I mean, a lot of the people that I know who got hired last year, even in the pandemic, were supply chain people because they were more needed than ever. And the COVID-19 pandemic has actually shown a lot of companies that they need to work on their supply chain because what they're currently doing is not sustainable for when random acts of God like that might occur. Supply chain managers demand incredibly high. Logistics recruitment which continues to increase according to established evidence. And even when others are recruiting less, opportunities continue to increase. So if these are, I mean, general idea is that there are too many opportunities available. So what is the future of logistics? We've talked about the past, we've talked about the present, and now we're talking about the future. Robotics, good to person deliveries and systems, investments in real-time transportation visibility, technology leadership roles, and then more investments in AI being artificial intelligence. I don't think there's any field that is not going to, at one point or the other, bow to the power of technology. And fortunately, supply chain is actually one of the leading ones. Again, back to the COVID-19 pandemic, people started to realize that, well, nobody's coming out, so there's no other way to do it than to change up your processes or change your routes to now start to deliver straight to the customer. It was a very interesting time because I was very observant about the things that were going on, and it was like, okay, this thing has really brought people to their needs and shown them that, okay, you really do need to diversify. It was a lesson to all of us, ourselves inclusive as a company. Now, if you're saying you want to sit down as like a Coca-Cola, you don't want to send anything to anybody, if you want Coke, you should go and find it. Coca-Cola and other organizations that are similar were actively sending. They created a logistics system that was servicing people in their houses. So I would order Coke and Coke itself would bring it to me, not necessarily through any kind of middleman. I think I know the fan milk guys were doing this as well. I mean, Echo Hotel started doing food delivery. Echo Hotel started doing dry cleaning services. They'll pick up and bring to your house. Everybody got dynamic at that point in time. Everybody went tech, everybody went online, everybody was available to be ordered in one way or the other. People who didn't have an online store started realizing that they needed to create one. So in as much as COVID was a terrible thing, it did transform the industry that way. And I think that the future has come faster than it originally was supposed to. So robotic goods to person systems, they fulfill two key demands of warehouse operators. They address the need of social distancing, and then they perform this task in such an efficient way that it increases productivity and improves storage density. Now, we don't necessarily have this yet as much as I think, but Amazon is definitely doing a lot of drone deliveries or any kind of robotic deliveries. I've seen a lot of videos with these little robots that kind of just glide across the road. I've seen people, they would fall and people would help them up and then they keep going their way and they know exactly where they're going to and they just drop the thing there. So that is an example of the future of supply chain in the world anyways, not necessarily in Nigeria, but in the world. Now, investments in real-time transportation visibility. This is already existent in Nigeria. I do know that certain logistics companies already have a system, a tracking system, a visibility system. I went to one in particular, they're very tech-driven, and they have a wall with massive screen that pretty much shows them where each of their trucks is at every given time. So this is actually pretty much coming to Nigeria already, and I'm sure that a lot of companies are already looking to invest. However, this market is highly fragmented, and supply chain leaders must conduct careful due diligence to identify the right technology partner to work with on these visibility projects. It should be selected based on regional and modal coverage and how well they align to the company's existing carrier network. Then we have technology leadership role. The level of technology leadership reporting directly within the supply chain organization will now rise with the progression of digital supply chain initiatives, meaning that the leaders of supply chains globally are now going to become very massive tech leaders, because at this point in time, you cannot take away one from the other. Because I smile when people say things like, I'm not really good at this tech stuff. Yeah, well, everybody's going to have to get good at it because that's where the world is headed. It's not something that most people enjoy. I'm doing courses that I'm not exactly excited about, but I have to do it because that's where the world's going. Because honestly, to lead supply chains now, you're going to have to bring in something different to the table, and you need to be bringing the future with you. So technology leadership roles are going to be coming up a lot within the industry. And then there's going to be a lot more investment in artificial intelligence. Companies will continue to invest in applications that embed, augment, or apply AI and advanced analytics tools. So if you're here and you're thinking, oh, I want to, I want to do something different, you need to be thinking about tech-based or supply chain courses that will help you to bring value to whatever company you build or end up working at. Okay, so I have about 3 or 4 slides left. These are some of the predictions of the future or maybe even of the present regarding supply chain. Now, it's saying that the demand planners will become commercial troubleshooters. Now, because they're equipped with cloud-based planning systems and real-time drill down to transactions and doing algorithms, the demand planner of the future basically becomes a business creator. He's empowered to prioritize, analyze, and solve supply-demand balancing problems at the transaction level. And this career will reward those able to figure it out and then get expedited and get shorted while there's still time. So, like I was saying, if you're not currently like doing a lot in terms of improving yourself with regards to AI capabilities for supply chain, I advise that you do. And I will obviously leave my email address in the chat when I'm done, in case anybody has any mails, any inquiries regarding such courses from us. We'll be happy to help. I forgot to say this at the beginning, but I'm almost done, and I'm sure we'll have space for questions. If you have any questions and you don't want to, have to unmute yourself, please, you can use the chat room to say anything, any contributions. It doesn't have to be a question. It could be that you disagree with me on something or that you agree. You can put it there. We can have a conversation if time permits after my portion is done. Production planners will become customization masters because they're working with collaborative robots that can be reprogrammed in minutes, sequencing simulations that digitally test thousands of work parts in seconds. And IoT is Internet of Things. Basically, we are going into a world where everything is going to be powered by the internet. Right now, a lot of people power their homes from their phones. Even if you forgot to lock something or to turn something off, even if you've driven out, you can actually do it from your phone. So that's what Internet of Things essentially generally is. Things that are inanimate, being able to do, animate things because of the power of the internet and power of technology. Now, freed from the need to manufacture long runs for low unit costs, this job becomes one that allows businesses to profitably promise batches of one. Infinite SKUs mean more chances to please the customer and make money. What are SKUs? For those who don't know, they're stock keeping units. The same way you have they have a plastic bottle of Coke. They have a glass bottle of Coke, they have 50 cl, they have 35 cl. Those are all individual stock keeping units. They are used to be able to identify the specificity of what the customer wants. Now, imagine being able to be a customization master, essentially, being able to say, okay, you want the Coke in 20 cl, I can do it for 20 cl. Customers have a wider array of things to choose from, and then you make more money when you're able to customize things even further. A big example of how customization is a massive winner with business is, again, Coke did the bottle with everybody's names on it. Everybody was queuing on ShopRite for bottle that had their name on it. That's customization. That must not have been easy. These are the kind of things that make that easy, to be able to say, okay, fine, we're going to customize 500 labels of Oluchi and 500 labels of Tolu, and 500. It's not easy, So when you think about it that way, these are the things that make you, stand out with artificial intelligence. And I think this is the logistics managers will become customer satisfaction directors. This is very, very important. Like I said, the only reason why the supply chain exists is for customers' happiness and for their satisfaction. Analytics and automation in fulfillment centers will deepen the range of options available to build a load, plan a route, and confirm the customer's readiness to receive a shipment. Extended backward with late-stage custom packaging, and forward with omni-channel delivery options like Uberization and drone. So basically, we're saying there are multiple ways for you to get your product now. If you want to get it via this, you get it via that. There are drones that are available. There's custom packaging for fragile goods. All that customization, all those options. So today's customer is very demanding, almost demanding and lazy. And I don't mean lazy in a bad way. It just means that everybody will pay for convenience at this point in time, and the options are awesome. And then you see, like I said, with delivery options like Uberization and drones, logistics could become the sexiest job in supply chain. Pardon the use of the word sexiest, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. It just means that movement, that ability to just go and come, and that flow can be such a fantastic thing and a fantastic industry to work in. Customer contact can, at the point of delivery, may be your best chance to make a great impression and renew the business. Because really, what brings a customer coming back? It costs 5 times the same amount of money it costs to retain a customer. That's how much it costs to get a new customer. So if you already have a customer that is good, why not just please the person and then make the person keep coming again and again and again? So logistics is also a very big part of that process. So we're hoping for, you can see this guy, just free, no walls, no barriers, no challenges, no apapa traffic, none of all the infrastructural challenges that we have as an industry generally. And we're hoping that we can get there. And it's really just one step at a time with fantastic events such as this, showcasing the industry, showcasing how the industry is thriving despite the challenges. Anybody who is in the industry knows that the logistics challenges of now and logistics challenges of 10 years ago, you can't even imagine. Sometimes you're like, how is this industry still standing? But that's to speak to the tenacity of the people who are in it. Future belongs to those who prepare for it, discover the future in your career. So that does it for me. Just a little bit more about Multimedia Academy. We also have an industry report which we release every year. The one for 2020 was just launched about a month ago, and it was focused on how the industry has grown through COVID. And I would encourage anyone who also, like I said, wants a copy, should send an email. I will leave my email in the background if I'm allowed to do that. Dr. Van, am I allowed to do that?
You can share your email address.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So my email address is in the chat room, and Dr. Van has been gracious enough to share our address. I will also share email address. We even have an online school, which I will put a link for in the chat room right now. This online school, basically what it does is you can actually go and take a course by yourself. You don't have to see us. You don't have to know who I am, come to the office. You go there, there are courses, and the courses are priced between 20 and 50,000 naira. And some of them are certifications, some of them are just knowledge courses, and they're quite rich, and they have some big guys in the industry teaching. So I think that you can take advantage of that when you're free. If you're really interested in pursuing this as a vocation and a career, but I think that if you do decide, then you have chosen the right one. Again, thank you to NAFAM Baby Consulting for having me. Thank you to all the sponsors of this program. It's a fantastic one, and we're very, very happy to be a part of it. Thank you again, and I will take questions at the end. Thank you very much, everyone, for being a great audience.
Thank you so much, Oluchi. You're actually a great teacher because you just took it seamlessly and it just went smoothly. This presentation, indeed, you are a teacher and a great learner. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think we should be able to patronize the school, and I will get back to you on what else we can also to do, to get people into the school. Thank you so much. And there are a lot of things I learned when she taught. And she said that every trader, every malam, whoever that sells anything, has a supply chain from wherever it's being produced or wherever you're picking it up to where to the end user. So everybody has a supply chain. It's not just particularly to say that one logistics. All of us who do businesses, especially those in manufacturing, those in production, those in buying and selling, we all have a supply chain, and we also have to actually make sure that we supply the correct products, we supply the products in good quantity, we supply the right condition of the product, the right place, the right customers, and the right time. So we must be people that need to plan operations from manufacturing to the end users. And then one of the things also why she was ending the presentation is that we are hoping for the future for no walls who prepare for it. So if we want to help to increase our run on investment, we need to prepare for it. Preparation is very key, and collaboration is also very key. We don't work alone. Information should not be hoarded by a particular set of people or a particular person. we should share information, and in working together, we are going to achieve much. Thank you so much, Oluchi Okafor. Thank you so much. So if you have questions, just type them there, we'll pick them up. If you have contributions, you can just raise your hand up, we'll respond to that. At this time, I want to call on Mr. Ademola Ogundare, the MD Nest Shipping.
Yes, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for.
Mr. Ogundare, can you hear me?
Appreciate the organizers of this program, the participants, and for all of us together as one. First, we must first of all define what is e-commerce. We must have understanding of e-commerce. We must have understanding of what is logistics, so that the two working together will be able to achieve our goal. E-commerce is the buying and selling of goods or services via the internet, and the transfer of money and data to complete the sales. It is also known as electronic commerce or internet commerce. And e-commerce break the barrier of geographical location of business and offer vast spectrum of audience and hence possibility of better overall sales. At the end of the day, it is just to ensure that there is a crucial for basic time management, and also for our bottom line, for whatever kind of business we are involved in. E-commerce will assist to ensure that costs are reduced to the barest minimum, and also every party enjoys the benefit of e-commerce. There are various types of e-commerce, as we are aware. It continues to evolve, but as of today, we have what we call business to consumer. Under the business to consumer, which is the most popular now in our climate, business like what we Jumia, Konga, whereby business and consumer, they have direct interface to be able to carry out their purchase of goods or services. We also have what we call business to business. Business to business means two parties. They are, it could be manufacturer or retailer, manufacturer or wholesaler, or individual that are dealing with an organization, or a business dealing with an organization. And we have what we call Amazon, Alibaba. They are very popular in this category. We also have what we call direct to consumer. Direct to consumer means direct to consumer e-commerce is also the newest model of e-commerce. It means that a brand is selling directly to their end customer without going through retailer, without going through distributor or wholesaler. That is maybe the manufacturer and the last consumer. They can interface, they can interact. Transaction can take place without intermediary. Also, we have consumer to consumer e-commerce. This refers to sales of goods or services to another consumer. At least two consumers, they can interact without Amazon, without all the big organizations involved. For example, if you have like Gigi, eBay, or whatever. Also, we also have what we call consumer to business. This one is when an individual sells their services or product to a business organization. This encompasses offering like photographer, consulting, freelance services. Yeah, so that is briefly about e-commerce. We need to have a proper understanding of it, because when you have an understanding of e-commerce, you have understanding of logistics. You will see how the two can now work together for the efficient services. Logistics, I will not go more into what is logistics, as the speaker, Madam Oluchi, has spoken excessively on logistics. Logistics is widely known as the process of coordinating and moving resources such as equipment, food, liquids, inventory, materials, and people from one location to storage of the desired destination. So in the supply chain and business sense, logistics is the management of the flow of things between the point of origin and consumption. So to fulfill the requirement of consumers or corporation, the logistics of the information resources involve the interaction of production, packaging, warehousing, transportation, security, material handling, and information flow. We have various type of logistics. We have warehousing. We have people. What they just do, for example, in Apapa here, they they have their warehouse available for maybe exporters of agricultural commodities, maybe in the northern part of the country or eastern part of the country. In the western part of the country, they have their export. They can bring it temporarily to the warehouse, and at the warehouse, the customs will be able to look at it, do their inspections before the goods are now properly packaged or put in a container and to the port. So it's like a kind of a warehouse, a kind of a temporary storage, a kind of a temporary arrangement whereby that can be utilized before the goods get to the final destination. We also have third-party logistics. Third-party logistics, what they do is manufacturers are there, they only concentrate on the production of their goods. And the third-party logistics will now make arrangements how these goods get to different parts of the world, different parts of Nigeria, whether in the geopolitical zone in Nigeria. It is the duty of this third-party logistics company to ensure that these goods are taken from the national straight to the last point. We also have the freight shipping, like we have international network. For example, in our companies, if you have goods anywhere all over the world, you just need to tell us is the pickup point. We'll make sure that the goods is brought to your doorstep. Or if you have any goods or any materials or data, and you want it to be taken to any part of the world, it's a kind of networking services that we also render. We'll be able to take these goods from you, and we'll be able to take it to the final destination. All you need to do is just to carry your handbag and your ticket, and you fly away, and whereas the goods is on the way. So we are all familiar to courier shipping. We all know that one. We also have what we have in-house logistics services. In-house logistics services is like a kind of a big organizations whereby one section will do a process, and this process has to be moved to another section of the company for the process to be completed. So the process of completing one section to another until the goods is finally ready for consumers is what we call the in-house logistics services. We also have transport management software, the tracker, all those things that will ensure that the vehicles go through the right track, get to the destination at the appropriate time, leave the origin at the appropriate time. A kind of software that will allow you to be able to do a proper monitoring of the driver, monitoring of the truck, monitoring of the all issues on the road that has to do with the transportation of the goods until to get to the final destination. Even though many startups and other small businesses, they stress on their production, quality of their goods. How do they get their goods free? How do they get it produced? How does it get? The people really bother about the logistic aspect, which is very, very, very important. And that is why most companies, when they have finished production, they realize that they can't really make decision for logistics or transportation. So when that one comes up, it becomes a problem because one is either they did not plan for it, or two, they would like to reduce their cost to the barest minimum. So we also have importance of logistics because if you have understandings of the various importance of logistics, it will enable us to be able to take the best advantage of various logistics available. We have inbound transportation, that is, we try to consider those activities that has to do with items or transportation coming from one part of the country and it's coming to us. Outbound is when it's coming from us and it's taken to final consumer. Also, the fleet management, somebody has to be responsible for all the fleet. It depends on the number of activities of the company or the number of vehicles involved. All this has to be properly managed, has to be properly projected so that the goods can get to the final destination or the final consumers at the appropriate time and at the least cost. Also, I've spoken about warehousing. That is a kind of temporary stopgap where people can drop their goods and get it for maybe further packaging, further arrangement before it gets to the port or before it gets to the final consumer. We also have what we call material handling, also order fulfillment, inventory management, which has been spoken extensively by Madam Olusi. So we also have to see the e-commerce statistics, what has been the position the last between 2014 and moving forward to 2024. We can see that it is very the figure is in trillion. In 2014, 1.3 trillion. 2015, 1.546 trillion of items that were traded through e-commerce and sales worldwide. And e-commerce has assisted in a lot of ways to reduce crowd at the point of location. You could imagine the Nigeria Port Authority was started in 1913. And between 1913 and now, if you look at the infrastructure at the Apapa here, to cope with the level of activities are increasing, population is increasing, volume of activity, export, import is increasing. If not for e-commerce, you could imagine a situation whereby everyone that has something to do with shipping company or has something to do with terminal company have to come down from all over Nigeria to Apapa. You could imagine the chaos that will be in place. But because of e-commerce now, from the comfort of your office or your home, you can do your invoicing online, you can make payment online, you can get your delivery order online, you can get your terminal delivery order online, and maybe the only area that you might need to have maybe a kind of interface is like a custom clearance, and I'm sure too they too are working to ensure that in a couple of years from now, they will be able to do a kind of online services whereby people can do their clearance of goods online without necessarily coming to the port. And by the time once everything is in place, you see that you have lesser people in the port. You have lesser people in the port because everything has been done online. And it is immediately the goods is finally released. What you need to do is just to give your ticket to the transporter to come to the port and pick the consignment, maybe import or export. Everything has been completed online. So the volume is increasing. It is projected that in 2024, 6 trillion worth of goods in dollars, 6 trillion will have been traded, worth of services will have been traded through e-commerce, and that is the statistics. So if you also look at the acceptance of e-commerce and logistics all over the world, you see that Latin America, they have 36.7% of participation in e-commerce. North America, 31.8%. Central and Eastern Europe, 29.1%. Asia Pacific, 26.4%. Western Europe, 26.3%. Middle East and Africa, 19.8%. So that means we see Middle East and Africa, they are still lagging behind in terms of appreciation of e-commerce and logistics services, or e-commerce generally. So we see they are still lagging behind. And if we look at the worldwide statistics, 27.6% of the world trade are also executed through e-commerce. There are a lot of challenges that are associated with logistics services, or the solutions to logistics services. How do we ensure reduction in transportation costs? Like I mentioned earlier, the manufacturer is concerned that the additional expenses or that what we make the product to increase in price is taken into consideration to ensure reduction in the transportation costs, improve in business processes. That is, like I just explained, how do you, at the comfort of your office, you are able to liaise or have dealings with other organizations in logistics, and you are able to get your result without necessarily coming physically to the port. Also, the e-commerce will also enhance customer services. It will enhance customer services that customers will be happy. They will be able to do so many things without necessarily coming physically. It will also improve the supply chain feasibility. So supply chain feasibility will also be improved, and also supply chain finance will also be is another also an issue that is very, very important. It's because the cost of haulage or transportation is more or less like a kind of cash and carry basis, which means that the majority of people, or majority of organizations involved in the haulage business, their waiting time for credit collections is very, very short. So it means that the manufacturers have to take this one into consideration to ensure that the supply chain finance is not hampered, because that can also affect the time that the goods gets to the final consumer. It can also increase the cost of the goods getting to the final consumer. We also have to look at the impact of the economy generally. If the economy is down, it's going to affect e-commerce, affect logistics, affect every aspect of a system. Also, you should also consider that the human factors, like the drivers involved in transportation of goods, it's another very big challenge, as getting mature drivers, getting drivers that are well trained, getting drivers that are fully equipped for the job, and it's also affecting ability for these goods and services to get to the appropriate. For anywhere in the world, truck drivers have difficulties and demanding jobs, and with increased government regulations, companies tend to be more selective in recruitment. So candidate driving records are scrutinized for traffic violations, for inspection discrepancies, lest it have a negative impact on the company's compliance safety and accountability score. So in the US, the average age of driver is between 49 years. That is the average, which means after 10 years, the number of years they can put in for good services is just between 10 to 20 years. So, and which means there will be shortage of resources. So government regulations too. It also has a tremendous power over global shipment. Even after the shipments are clear in the port, the product must be inspected for safety, must be inspected for compliance, like NAFDAC we have in Nigeria, we have SUNCAP, we have SUN, quarantine, and all those things. So they also, one way or the other, part of the challenges in logistics system, but they are very important that they should be there in order to avoid abuse. So in addition, so many permit laws and transitions are international on domestic systems. They also have impact on logistics. And also sustainability is very, very important for sustainability to be in place, whereby, like Madam Lucy said, if you are to make supply, how are you sure you are going to sustain the supply? It's not that you have created a market, and when more items are needed, you are not available to make them available. Also, technology advancement, adopting new and innovative technology solutions has become imperative for logistics companies, given that labor is scarce, competition is intense, and customers have become more demanding. Technology advancement can increase productivity by minimizing time, costs, and errors. So automation systems, data-driven software solutions, such as advanced packing labeling, warehousing sorting, like for example, the new app, ETO, that was introduced by Nigeria Port Authority, whereby trucks are sequentially arranged before they can come to the port. So the objective about it, the objective at the end of it is to ensure that the number of hours on the road is minimized, the congestions on the road is minimized, and there will be efficient port services. So those are all the technology advancements that we are talking about, and they are coming and they are improving even in the warehousing. We have what we call warehousing sorting system, like the robots that they mentioned about can do a lot of sorting at the warehousing. So shipment tracking system enable company to monitor their shipments, round the clock, get alert, notification, and set up customized reporting. So data analytics can help with improving customer experience, operation efficiency, and safety. So robotics and autonomous machinery have been adopted by many key players in the logistics industry. This helps in drastically cutting down time taking for order completion and delivery. Like if you imagine if containers, maybe 100 containers are to be loaded, if it's going to be done by labor, it can take them by human being. It's going to take them a week. But where you use technology, robots, and all those loading systems, it can be done under a day or maximum under 2 days. So those are the advantages that can really assist. In summary, technology used in improving logistics processes is fast evolving and is solving most of the problem very faster at a minimal cost while fulfilling all others at the specified time. Therefore, logistics companies should embrace latest software, hardware, tools such as tracker, inventory management software, warehouse management tools, fleet management software to solve most of these modern day challenges and in order to minimize costs and improve on customer satisfaction. At the end of the day, the most important thing is that customer must be satisfied. So we must continuously, the e-commerce experts, the logistics experts must continuously thinking about the future, thinking about how will they ensure that customers have satisfaction, manufacturers are satisfied, the final consumers are satisfied. Because, like I said, if the number of if there is no need for the number of days that goods have to leave Abuja and leave Lagos and get to Abuja, there is no need for a logistics person to be involved. The fleet management software, there are so many of them that can be used for fleet management. We have MindGearSap and FleetTio. There are many of them that can be used here, which can be circulated among the participants. And also, if you want to have more information about us, the organizers can be contacted for our email, sales@netshipping.com, or any area, whatever area that our services is needed, we'll be able to assist in the logistics industry. We have been in the industry for close to 30 years and we are doing very well. So once again, I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank the participants, the organizers, the sponsors. I want to say we are very grateful for the time allocated to us, and which we believe that we have kept within the time. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ogundare. Thank you so much for this presentation on how to satisfy customers or improve customer services. The most important thing is that customers must be satisfied. The most important thing I said is customers must be satisfied with your delivery time, with the quality of what you're delivering to them. Thank you so much. From what he also said, he says the e-commerce also has helped so much. We now have less congestion, at least at the ports. A lot of things are being done using robotics. A lot of delivery are being done using one way or the other, which necessarily do not need the human presence. Thank you so much, Mr. Gundare, once again. We just take a 2 seconds break. We'll come back. When we come back, we're going to call on Mr. Kenneth Odushola Stevenson. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that But we thank, once again, we thank Zenith Cares for sponsoring and supporting this program. At this point, I want to call on my CEO, Mr. Kenneth Odushola Stevenson. He is the president, the managing consultant, Natafam David Consulting Nigeria Limited. He is also the CEO of Century 21 Systems Communications Limited. He's a publisher and of CED Magazine and Inside Business Africa. You are welcome, sir. He's going to take us on how collaborative supply chains thrive and prosper, ensuring the concept continues to gain acceptance and popularity. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Well, I must first and foremost congratulate all that are in the logistic business for this day that is being celebrated, which is the World Logistics Day. And then secondly, let me also give a very important clap to Natafam David Consulting for always finding an innovative ways of bringing people together to discuss issues that matter at any point in time. And then also, let me also congratulate and thank Zenith Cares, Zenith Cares International Limited, Nigeria's leading supply chain and logistic company. Zenith Cares indeed has done exceedingly well in the last couple of years, defining and giving meanings to logistic business in Nigeria, from shipping to courier services and many more. We want to thank them for actually being part of this particular event today, which is the sponsoring of this event. Let me also use this opportunity to thank Ms. Oluchi Okafo for actually delving so much into the supply chain industry and talking through some of the opportunities that are available. And then Mr. Ademola Ogundare, who also spoke on the issue of technology and also the logistic business from various angles. I must thank them for sharing their thoughts in today's webinar. Now, to the topic that I've been given, and the whole theme of this year, like it's been said, the World International Logistic Day, is about recognizing and appreciating the importance of the logistic industry. And my own bit is to simply speak through how collaborative supply chain thrive and prosper, ensuring the concept continues. So I'm going to just be about 2-3 minutes, really, because what is important is that supply chain collaboration is a hot topic today, and no wonder companies that collaborate effectively across the supply chain have enjoyed dramatic reduction in inventories and costs, together with improvement in speed, service level, and customer satisfaction. Collaboration between companies, joint initiatives that go beyond their normal costs of day-to-day businesses with the aim of delivering a significant improvement over the long term is particularly attractive for the consumer package industries. When you say consumer package sector, it means there's something that has been produced and is now ready to be delivered to the consumer. That's what you know about consumer packaged goods. It's like our own mobile phone. It has already been done. It has already been packaged. And all we need to do is to take it maybe from UK to Nigeria. And it means that you are going to take it from that point using a logistic company that is actually thriving and doing well to take that packaged products or goods to the end users, so to speak. With pricing under pressure from this pandemic and recession-scared consumers, the temptation for retailers is to transfer the pain upstream to their suppliers by passing on price reductions and forcing them to bear an increasing share cost. Mr. Ogundare spoke about something that is very interesting. When you look at the supply chain industry, especially the logistics, if it wasn't because of the e-commerce, I'm sure the Lagos port must, or even the cargo must have collapsed by now. But because of the e-commerce services that has just come to stay, you can now get your goods in the comfort of your home that is sent to you either from Japan or from South Korea, which means you don't really have to go to the airport or to the cargo section of the airport waiting for goods to come. So only one company does that. And that has defined the way supply chains have thrived and how it's going. And consumer packaged goods players are looking at collaboration initiative as a way out of damaging spiral antagonistic relationship. That's one reason why collaboration efforts between manufacturers and their retailers' customers have dramatically grown in popularity in recent years. For me, like I have said, supply chain collaboration has delivered some real value for participants, but not overall, because there are always two sides to a coin. All right. You see that, we always have two sides to a coin, but overall, that these initiatives are more likely to fail than to succeed. But for it to succeed, you must have some key elements. Indeed, for it to succeed, for your collaborative and supply chain facilities to succeed, you must have some key elements. Company can collaborate and work. They will not only fail to achieve the potential benefit that supply chain collaborators provide, but they will also risk destroying the enthusiasm for their further attempt, both inside their own organization with it. So you need a very, very important factors to be considered. And I'll start with one. First of all, why collaboration is hard. In our world, helping retailers and consumer packaged goods manufacturers manage their collaboration efforts, we have seen a handful of factors that make collaboration problematic. Some of these will be familiar to an organization that's involved in a large-scale change process. Companies may, for example, lack the commitment they need from senior management to drive the collaboration, or the message that the collaboration is important and may be lost in translation as it passes down through the organization, which means if you must get into the supply chain business, you must understand that you must do bottom-down or bottom-up kind of collaborative training. It's very important. Your vision must marry with the vision of the companies you are representing, because at the end of the day, these goods have been produced and to be shipped to someone. And therefore, you that is handling such goods must also understand that the customer require utmost satisfaction during deliveries. So, which is very important. And finally, the incentives of the different parties involved in the collaboration may be fundamentally misaligned, making it difficult even for enthusiastic, committed staff to make the collaboration work while still fulfilling their own targets. These misaligned incentives arise because different players in the supply chain may see the world in different ways. A manufacturer, for instance, might want to grow its market share by improving its own offerings relative to competitors, whereas a retailer might be interested in increasing sales or margins across the category, not in changes to product mix. So this difference in outlooks can mean that retailers and manufacturers want very different things from the collaboration. Growth-focused manufacturers may be enthusiastic about new promotional opportunities, while retailers operating on thin profits margin may be much more interested in taking costs out of product handlings and storage. So you can imagine that different companies have different goals in getting involved in this industry. And if they have different goals, they must also be able to understand that the ultimate is the consumer. Manufacturers typically will have relationship with a small number of key retailers, while those same retail partners will have relationship with the hundreds of suppliers. So it is important for us to understand that collaboration efforts may fail if we don't do the right thing, which means we either need the strength, the power, and the opportunity that it provides and the industry. Making the right choices is one of the key parts of these collaborative efforts. If you want collaboration to thrive, to prosper, and ensure that people need to continue to enjoy these particular services in the supply chain industry, making the right choices is very important. Consumer packaged goods companies can greatly increase their prospects for success by taking a thoughtful approach to the areas they select for collaboration. Their choice of partners, the way they implement their collaboration. Based on our experiences, we have identified some of these major things. There are key factors we must look into in terms of making this one particular supply chain and the collaborative supply chain thrive. Collaborate in area where you have a solid footing. In other words, look at your strength of your organization. Only take what you can afford to handle. Do not say because there is money into it, I want to get involved, because you can destroy your own company by not understanding that you must be on a solid footing to be in a particular area. Companies are often tempted to use collaboration as a way of fill gaps in their own capabilities. In practice, the most successful collaboration builds on strengths rather than compensating for weaknesses. A manufacturer seeking to collaborate with a major retailer or a logistic company in order to improve its own forecasting performance, for example, we have little to gain from access to the retailer's point of sale data unless it has in-house analytical capability to make effective use of that data. Similarly, there's little point in entering collaboration to boost sales if any increase in demand is likely to run into manufacturing capacity constraints. It is important that potential collaborators should also be sure they have the right supporting infrastructure. In other words, I've seen from Zenith KRS, for instance, he's into supply chain, and he has put together a complete infrastructure like the warehousing. In other words, the goods will not live here today, but I have received it into my own custody. It means that I must have a very important infrastructure in terms of my warehousing to be able to store those goods before it moves the next day. So it is important, and that the top management is committed to collaboration process and ready to offer support over the long term. Our in-house information technology system robust enough to facilitate real-time data sharing if required. In other words, I have sent goods with Zenith KRS, for instance. It is important that Zenith KRS must be able to get to me in real time when my goods are delivered. In other words, when the goods are delivered, even if it's SMS I get that your goods have been delivered, I'll be happy. So I can put a phone call through to the person that I've sent it to say, look, I've just received a text message that your goods have been delivered. Have you received it? So it is important that our IT system and the technology system must be in place to actually support the supply chain. Therefore, the industry can thrive. Secondly, turn win-lose situation into win-win opportunities with the right benefit sharing model. Some collaborations promise equal benefit for both parties. If, for example, a manufacturer and a retailer collaborate to optimize product mix, both could expect to benefit from the resulting increase in sales. In other cases, however, the collaboration might create as much value overall, but the benefit could fall more to other partners than the other. Here's one real life example. A retailer and the manufacturers want to reduce overall logistic costs between factory and store by cutting out the manufacturer distribution center and treating the retailer distribution network as one integral supply chain. From manufacturer plant to store shelf, however, the retailer supply chain executives struggle to gain acceptance to the idea from the leadership because it results in retailers carrying a far larger fraction of the logistic cost. Now, during the pandemic, we understand very clearly that a lot of things has happened. Without the logistic business, we may not have been able to succeed. But we were able to succeed during the pandemic, nations all over the world, because the logistic businesses were allowed a bit of movement. We realized that even from home, we can order for food items from a restaurant so that we don't have to be outside, which means that the benefit sharing can help to overcome differences in strategic priorities too. My priority is to get a food, and then I have a logistic company that can deliver. And I sit in my home and I make a phone call, and I make my order to that particular restaurant, and they deliver. And this was not something that was in place before. But today, these things have continued, and they will continue to continue. So it's going to be sustained. In other words, we would ensure the concept is sustained because, all right, we are getting used to it. Benefit sharing can help to overcome differences in strategic priorities, like we have all said. Similarly, the product flow improvement case described in the silver reflection is something that we must understand. I am using a logistic company because I want to cut costs most times, because I won't be able to use a truck from here to Kaduna to Zaria. But there are companies that have been set up to do such, and they must be in a position to give me real-time service, and because there is competition at the same time. So if you are in this business, please, it is important for you to arm yourself well enough to be able to thrive and sustain your business for the long run. Then another thing is select partner based on capabilities, just like I've just said, strategic goals and value potential. The biggest potential partner might not be the best one at the end of the day. So it's enough for you to actually be able to do your need assessments. When you finish doing your need assessment, you can now go and look at the company that can match those needs assessment with whatever you intend to do. So it's important that many companies aim to collaborate with their largest suppliers or customers because they assume that the greatest value is to be found there. All right. Some people will say, I'm going to use, this is a promotional event, but I have to. Some people say, I'm going to use DHL, not knowing that I could even use Dennis Carers to get even more value than DHL. It's not in the name that you see on the notice board. It's in the value that proposition and something that people can provide. In many cases, however, this turned out not to be the truth because at the end of the day, you got the name, all right, DHL, UPS is going to deliver. But meanwhile, it takes 4 or 5 days from then. Meanwhile, within 24 hours, Zenith carriers can deliver. Why do I need to just, because I've done my needs assessment, I've done my interviews, I've done my survey, and I've discovered that as an indigenous company, they have a goal and what they want to deliver. So I decide to use Zenith carriers and I get service. All right. So it's not in the name, but it's in the service that is provided. A better approach is one that assesses current customers or suppliers across the key dimensions. First, is there enough potential value in collaborating with this partner? You must think about it. And we must all understand that we want service and we want things to happen. And then another one I would like to pick on is invest in the right infrastructure and people. And this goes to also the logistic companies. The logistic companies must learn to invest in the right infrastructure and people. You can't have a motorcycle rider that cannot actually, get someone to sign a document that has been sent and be able to read it, which means the minimum qualification for a bicycle riders should be something like a school cert. All right, so that at least when something is written or when something is received, somebody should be able to write, to be able to collaborate, that these things, could be able to corroborate that this thing has been signed for. So just picking somebody on the street, okay, and say, come and do my dispatch rider, it's not going to work. Because at the end of the day, you're going to face crisis when some things happen. And then I also mentioned earlier that you need infrastructure. I want to be able to say, look, you won't believe that before some companies that are importing things from maybe China or India, they will say, look, go and look at their warehouse first, whether they have the right warehouse to match. You see, let's even look at what has happened with the vaccines. The first major thing was AstraZeneca must be a certain percentage for storage. And Nigeria was having issues in terms of receiving it because we don't have that storage capacity in terms of the temperature level. All right. So, which means if I'm going to do anything in this logistic business, I must invest in infrastructure because a customer, they want to come with a big business and a retainership, and they want to look at the infrastructure that I have. So I need to invest in infrastructure and also ensure that the kind of human capital that I put in place will be the one that will match any customer whatsoever, because you never know who is going to come. All right. In practice, even relatively simple collaborative tasks will be more difficult than equivalent opportunity conducted with the walls of organization, because staff must overcome differences in culture, organization, and technology, not to mention the basic challenges of finding the right contact within the partner organization with whom to liaise. All right. We'll talk about customer services. I put a phone call through to a company, a logistic company. I said, I need social services. The person just tell me, we don't offer it. And they hang up. I don't get anything anymore. Meanwhile, the person that you put in your customer service that to receive that phone call does not have the tools as to how much or all the things that you provide. You only tell the person, sit in the front desk and answer phone calls. You need to train that person that if a phone call comes, you must answer and escalate that particular conversation. Because at the end of the day, you may not have gotten the right tools as to what the company does. And therefore, you cannot on your own decide and hang up the phone and don't escalate that to somebody else. So the right human capital is very, very important if you must strive and if we must continue to sustain this. Sometimes it's important to establish a joint partnership management system. In other words, I don't have an aircraft, all right? But I know that maybe Zenith Carriers has an aircraft, and I'm a small holder in this business. And I know that what is important for me to do and to be effective means that I must establish a partnership with, Zenith Carriers. An effective performance management system helps a company to ensure that any long-term project is on track and delivering the result it should. In supply chain collaboration efforts, both participants should use the same performance management system. In other words, if I'm going to be using Zenith Carriers, and because he has an aircraft that move cargoes or what have you, and I don't have, I must be able to study Zenith Carriers operational manuals and their system of working, so that at the end of the day, picking the right metrics can be challenging sometimes, but however, it will be inevitably be able to solve some of the trade-offs because I will understand that they will match the kind of customer I'm bringing to them. So collaborate for the long term. It's always good to collaborate for the long term because at the final analysis, we don't want to be changing clients all over the places. If you are in the industry, you are collaborating with the Zenith Carriers, you want to do it on a long-term basis because at the end of the day, it also, the benefits are also there. Sometimes the client may not have paid because you've signed a contract and they will be able to have a scheduled payment with you at the end of the day. So it's important to collaborate for the long term. When the company takes a long-term perspective, their collaborative efforts can become a virtuous circle, a greater understanding of each other's capabilities, knowledge, and costs. We often reveal new potential sources of value, while the experience of working closely together means that later initiatives will take less time and be clearer and easier to execute than early ones. Now, it's important. We must understand that collaboration will thrive, it will succeed in the supply chain industry by collaborating effectively and understanding who we are dealing with. And I think I would like to stop here while I also believe that there will be questions and issues to be discussed. And I hope I've been able to do justice to the particular topic and understanding that the process technology is an action. All right. The point of this people is also technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this extensive presentation on collaboration and on how collaborative supply chain will strive and how it will prosper and ensure that the concept continues. Amongst all the things he said, we have to sustain it, and that will mean that we must have the right people to collaborate with. We must have a lot of things to put in place. We must have company to do some needs assessment and then know the people they are collaborating with so that we can succeed in collaboration. We just take about 1 or 2 minutes and we'll come back. If you have your questions, just get your questions ready. You can raise your hand and ask, or you can type on the chat box. Now, if you want to get a video of this program after this, just put your email address on the chat box. So we are coming back in the next 1 minute. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that advance. I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank all the speakers and participants. I will assure you that by the time we finish editing this program, we'll send the link to you so that you can watch it over and over again on our YouTube station. I want, if there's no question and nobody's making contributions, I want to call back Mr. Stevenson to give us a parting word. I understand Oluchi is on transit now, our first speaker, and Mr. Demola is not online here. Please, can we get a parting word from Mr. Stevenson? Thank you.
What I could just say as a parting word, while thanking the sponsor, most importantly, Zenith Carriers International, for making this particular Logistic Day conversation possible, and the celebration of the Logistic Day, while we congratulate Zenith Carriers and all other partners and the operators in this industry. It's important for me to say that from the point of view of the topic that I was given, which is how collaborative supply chain thrive and prosper, ensuring concept continues to gain acceptance, I would like to just say very clearly that it is important that collaboration pays. But my last word will just be that it should be clear to all of us, based on what has been said and based on my presentation, that successful supply chain collaboration is neither quick nor simple, but it is worth the while. I use that word because I said the answer to the supply chain collaboration is yes, that it must be done. We must emphatically say that it is yes. But it's important, in other words, for us to also understand that consumer packaged goods collaboration that involve 2 or 3 separate initiatives in a category delivers a return that equivalent to a profit uplift of up to 5 some percentage. And it also allows us to cut down on our costs. And what, like I said, it is worth the while to collaborate, but all the variables that has been discussed are very key to successful supply chain collaboration. And I have said, just a recap on that, I said that collaborate for the long term. And I also said that we should also, when I say collaborate for the long time, it means that you must establish a relationship that can be sustained. And I also talked about establish a joint performance management system, because joint performance management system will make sure that whatever is being done is done to both parties. All right. I also remember that I mentioned something about the fact that invest in the right infrastructure and people. Very, very important. Invest in the right infrastructure and people. I also mentioned the fact that select partners based on capabilities and strategic goals and value potentials. Very important. All right. And I think, one of the last things I said, to turn win-loss situation into a win-win opportunity for the right benefit. Sharing models will be very important for all partners in this industry. Collaborate in areas where you know you have solid footing, right? Collaborate in areas where you have solid footing, because it's important that you know what you're doing, and experience counts most times. Thank you.
I want to particularly thank the speakers for their time, and also thank Zenith Carriers for supporting and sponsoring this program. And everybody that attended today, thank you so much. And I say happy Logistics Day to all of us. I pray that by next year we're going to have this program in a better form. And of course, I also ask that when we come knocking, you will also open your doors for us to be part of this. Thank you so much. I will still say, if you have questions to ask, put them on the chat box. We can always reply to your questions, and then put your email addresses so that we can reach out to you. Thank you so much, and do have a good afternoon. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that advance.